Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to just welcome our participants for this enrichment session. So I think we are still admitting, ano? So let's wait for a few minutes and then we shall start with some reminders as we start the session. Thank you so much. Everyone. I am Miss Maria Ardelia A. de los Santos. You can call me Miss Maria. Welcome to our enrichment session for this semester, entitled Living with Intention, the Power of Discernment in Daily Action. So before we officially start the program, we would like to share a few reminders for today's session. First, please make sure you have filled out your attendance. We have required you to register in the Zoom link. So hopefully you have done that already. So as you enter the Zoom meeting, please rename yourselves to your program dash your surname and first name for recognition. So please see the slide flashed on the screen. So the session is best experienced when viewing it in speaker view. You may turn your camera on, but make sure your microphone is on mute. After the talk, we encourage everyone to share relevant insights or inquiries. You may type them in our chat box or raise your hand to be acknowledged. Also, please refrain from unnecessary comments in the chat box while our speaker is giving her talk. In a short while, we shall begin our enrichment session for today. So again, welcome to our enrichment session. I hope that everyone has already renamed their attendance here in our enrichment session. So to formally start our program, may we invite everyone to pause for the opening prayer to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Dearest Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve you as I should. To give and not to count the cost. To fight and not to heed the wounds. To toil and not to seek for rest. To labor and ask not for reward. Save that of knowing that I do your most holy Dearest Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve you as I should. To give and not to count the cost. To fight and not to heed the wounds. To toil and not to seek for rest. To labor and ask not for reward. Save that of knowing that I do your most holy
Kayang magiliw, perlas ang silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyang ka ng mabitin, sa manluluping, di ka pasisitin. Sa dagat at puno, sa simoy at sa langit mong bangaw, may nilamang tula at awit sa maglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawag mo'y tagumpay na nagdidingding, ang bituin at araw niyang kailan na may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhalik pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na pag may nakahabi, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
So once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session for the second semester. No, we have Living with Intention, the power of discernment in daily action. So before we formally start, no, we would like to invite our Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Malu Barciliano, to give us her opening remarks, and let us all give her a virtual round of applause.
Thank you, Marielle. Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to welcome you all in this enrichment session entitled Living with Intention, the Power of Discernment in Daily Action. So this session will allow us to explore the vital role of discernment in daily decision-making, especially as you navigate your journey as graduate students. So specifically, this session will allow us to define and articulate discernment for personal and professional life goals, appreciate the role of faith and spirituality in decision-making, and analyze personal and career experiences that demand discernment and intentionality. As we go through the many demands and challenges of our daily activities, not only as part of the graduate school, there is a need to consciously align our actions and choices with our core values and beliefs rather than simply existing passively. We have to make decisions that are reflective of what is truly important to us, both in the short term and long term. This is where we have to imbibe the power of discernment, the ability to make sound judgments by assessing the moral and spiritual implications of the situations. So this involves careful examination, critical thinking, and sensitivity to the situation. So this will be discussed thoroughly by our resource speaker, Ms. Mary Ann Liduque, a special education and early childhood education practitioner. And so with this, I formally welcome you all to this online activity. So again, marhay na hapon sa Indo Boss.
Thank you so much po, Doc Malu, for the opening remarks. Now we hope that we warmly welcome you in this enrichment session. So without further ado, it's truly an honor to introduce our esteemed guest speaker for today. So we will have Ms. Mary Ann L. De Duque. So let me first start introducing her. So Ms. Mary Ann De Duque hails from Silay City, Negros Occidental, and responded to the invitation of Father Joel Tabora S.J., then president of Ateneo de Naga University, and moved to Naga ever since and served various communities. She is married to Mr. Manuel De Duque and is a wonderful mother to two children, Johan and Kayla. She garnered her degrees in AB Literature and English at the Ateneo de Manila University, Special Learning Package in Education from the University of San Agustin Bacolod, and her MA in Special Education at De La Salle University. Moreover, she completed the Art of Spiritual Direction program at Mercy Center, California. Her works are translated into various institutions, such as being a high school English teacher in the Holy Family Vocational High School, Bacolod, and St. Joseph's High School, Bacolod. And in St. Scholastica's College, Manila, she taught high school theology. Moreover, Ms. Meanne handled the special education program of the school at St. Mary of the Woods School, Makhat. She continued serving as college guidance counselor, presidential assistant for publications, college instructor in the departments of theology, psychology, and education, as well as a graduate school from 2000 to 2015 at Ateneo de Naga University. Presently, she is working with the planning committee of Ateneo de Naga University under the president's office. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Miss Mary Ann de Duque, or Miss Mean, as we call her. Let us all give her a virtual round of applause.
Thank you, Marielle, and good afternoon to all of you. So this talk, this conversation is called Living with Intention, the Power of Discernment in Daily Action. I'll share with I'm sharing with you. Sorry. Okay. So living with intention, another word for intention would be purpose or meaning, the power of discernment in daily action, which I was told is a topic that they chose because at this particular point in time, many people, many students especially, are in the process of making decisions or making choices towards decisions. There are graduations everywhere and decisions to be made related to these. So this afternoon, we shall do three things. First, we shall take a long, tender, loving look at our life and try to appreciate it for all that it is. So first, we start with life, our own lives. Second, we shall look at the arena of choices that life offers and identify the choices that matter to us now. Like choosing from many flavors of ice cream. Isn't that a very difficult choice to make? And third, we could familiarize ourselves with what it means to discern, distinguishing it from pure decision-making, and recognize how discernment can direct us to a life of meaning. So we have three talking points this afternoon. We shall take a look at our life as a work of art. So it's a metaphor I have chosen for our talk, life as a work of art. Then we shall explore and talk a little bit about the choices that we make, those we have made and those that we are waiting to be made. And third, we shall familiarize ourselves with the gift of discernment. So the third topic will be, and third talking point will be the gift of discernment. After each point, there will be some form of reflection, which I hope you can slide into. Having pen and paper might be helpful for this. We will give some space for sharing, whether orally or via chat, if there are those who feel led to share, maybe one or two, or maybe just to write down your answers in the chat. As this session unfolds, take only what resonates with you. Take only what feels true for you. I am not an expert, just someone who is journeying with you and like you in this world. There are things you know or have experienced that I haven't. Above all else, honor your own experiences. So I would like to start this conversation with a poem called Slow. It's a poem by Marnice Clarence. I will read it and you can try to internalize it. You are allowed to go slow. You are allowed to be quiet, make space, and feel. You're allowed to have nothing to say and wait until you do. You are allowed to wait. You can just breathe sometimes and watch and see. You can be open to whatever comes next. You can not know, and you can want. You can be okay with your wanting. You can sit in your agitation, breathe into your irritability, and cry in your grief. And there is a lot of grief going around these days. You can wait for the truth. You can watch how you make up stories and love yourself and wait until the true one reveals itself. You can do all kinds of things slowly. I'm sorry, I forgot to share the poem as it went along, but I think this will be shared with you. You can go back to the poem. Okay, sorry about that. So this is your permission to slow down, to be slow, to settle into the okayness of all that you are, to just be here, to just be you, simply as you are. The world is telling you to go fast. Things cannot wait. If you delay, you will lose opportunities or fail. But what has being fast done to us? It has made living such a burden. We are simmering in too much stress. Try it slow. Try doing it slow. There is a time to be fast, but also a time to slow down. Trust that it will be well. Trust that it will be okay. You will find yourself. You will be able to smell the roses. Take it from someone who is very slow. So let this be your permission to do that today. And maybe as you hear me saying this, how does that feel? So maybe if you can access the motions in your heart, which is what we will be talking a lot about later, how does that feel to be told you can go slow? Is that something you can give yourself permission to be now? Is it something you can give yourself permission to be, at least for some portions of every day? This, I propose, is the first step to living a life of intention or purpose. Slowing down and paying attention to yourself and your life. Okay, let us begin with the first talking point. Our life as a work of art. All of life, yours and mine, is a work of art. When you were born, you were given a canvas and a set of materials, all uniquely yours. You were born in a certain place, to a set of parents, in unique circumstances, different from everyone else. You were equipped with a physical structure, emotional frame, certain intelligences, temperament, and personality distinctly yours. As your life journey unfolds, you further unwrap a particular identity that is unlike anyone's. Then you are given a set of two more things: a set of choices and opportunities in life, and a set of limitations. This is true of all of us. Some have wealth, but are limited by certain abilities or disabilities. Some have brilliance, but are limited by financial resources. And there are many permutations in between. No one has it all, really. From all of these comes the work of our lifetimes to create art of our lives. Potentially beautiful art. One thing is certain, you each are beautiful and capable of producing beautiful things. And you do not produce the masterpiece of your life alone. It is not all up to us. We are not left on our own. Someone works very closely with us, as closely as the breath you breathe and the heartbeat that throbs within you. This someone is no less than your creator. So this is a picture that was taken just a few days ago. We went home to my husband's hometown, Bulan, Sorsogon. So this is the family of my husband. My husband is the youngest son in a family of 11, but he still has twin sisters who are the youngest. And so into this family, he was born. He was raised by two aunts who are retired public school teachers who are unmarried. And this is two sisters. There are 11 of them. Not all of them were here. And into this family, I became a part of by virtue of marriage. And our family of procreation produced two children. So this is my own part of my own set of unique circumstances, part of the choices I have made and the results of that. And it's beautiful, right? I mean, I'm always fascinated by the fact, how did someone from the far end of the Visayas end up with somebody who lives in the moon? I remember when my husband first invited me to their hometown, he said, sama ka sa, imbitahan kita sa amin, taga-Bulan, Sorsogon ako. I said, oh, that's my chance to visit the moon. So I went. And that's how I ended up in that. Okay, it's your turn. I invite you at this point to gather your life together, all of your life, all the decades of your life. Some of you may be young, in your 20s, maybe 30s, 40s. How many decades of your life you have lived so far? Gather your life together. Shape it into a ball as small as a baby's soft fist and place it gently on your hand. Cradle it there kindly as you would any baby's hand. No matter how messy your life may be right now or how chaotic, remember all ongoing art is messy and chaotic, even as it bursts with the promise of beauty. Regard it gently and kindly, with as much tenderness as you can muster. Your own life, like a baby's hand. Caress all of it, the charm and the awfulness, the radiance and the darkness, the lightness and the heaviness, the joy and the pain. Give space for everything that is your life, resisting nothing, rejecting nothing, loving all of it. All. If at this moment you are going through a darker chapter in your life, doing this may be difficult, even painful. If so, be even gentler with yourself. Gaze with even greater compassion on yourself and your life. Honor the strength and courage that allows you to keep showing up despite this. These past few weeks, we lost 3 Filipino artists, Pilita Corrales, Nora Honor, and Haji Alejandro. If you have been following the video clips of their wakes and funerals, as I have, you cannot but recognize that their lives were colorful and fascinating works of art. It is as if in death, these artworks were put up into an art gallery for all to celebrate. One day, our own life will be part of that art gallery. If and when it is, could you give a title to that art that is your life? Could you try to put a title into the art that is your life? If someone had the privilege of looking at your life down the years now, what would they be able to say about it? All of it. Not only the good parts, not only the bad parts, but all of it. In this slide is a artwork. It's a painting of Elton John. Elton John, the musician, is of course very much alive still. But the title of this artwork is Elton John. Can you feel the love tonight? With the title, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Can you do the same with your own artwork? I will share with you mine, just so that you have something to start with. One title I might give my life is this: Despite fear, she just did it, and the unexpected happened. In this, I think of the year after college graduation, when I was invited to teach. I was very shy, quiet, soft-spoken, and thought it was impossible for me to stand in front of students every day for a whole year. This was in Bacolod, my home province. I had just graduated from Ateneo de Manila. One Benedictine sister, she's in the picture, asked me to teach English in their mission school, which caters to children of farmers and fishermen. I really was scared, but I did anyway. I ended up teaching for 3 years with them, falling in love with students there who came to school barefooted and hungry, but very eager to learn. The joy that they gave me led me to teach for the next 30 years in 6 different schools, 2 in Bacolod, 2 in Manila, and 2 in Naga. I am still very shy, quiet, and soft-spoken, but I now have stood in front of students for the past 30 years. How unexpected, di ba? So this is the picture of the first graduation I ever attended. I think you see me, I'm still shy, quiet there, but parang may ngiting tagumpay ng kaunti, naka-isang taong. And those are my first set of students. In 2000, the Jesuit priest, Father Joel Tabora, asked me if I wanted to teach in Naga. It was during the ordination of one of a personal friend that was now a Jesuit. So out of the blue, he asked me, "Oh, Mary Ann, you want to come to Naga, teach there?" I had just finished my master's in special education then. I remember riding the bus to Naga to check out the school, Ateneo de Naga University. My brother went up the bus before it left and gave me his navy blue Nokia 5110 phone, saying, "Ate, keep in touch, ha? Baka hindi ka namin makita na." My family hardly knew where Naga was at that time. In fact, they had to buy a map of the Philippines to locate where it is. But I came to Naga anyway. I ended up meeting my husband here and spending the next 25 years so far here in Naga. How unexpected, di ba? In 2005, the decision to get married was laid before me. I was already in my early 40s by then. I had already decided to spend the rest of my life as a single person. In fact, during vocation seminars on campus, I always gave a talk on the joy of single blessedness. So, my husband-to-be, and now my husband, of course, is much younger than I. I felt I did not want to burden him with a marriage where the possibility of not having children was very real. But my husband assured me, maybe this is the philosopher in him. He said, one gets married because of love. Ang pag-aasawa ay dahil nagmamahalan. Not because one wants to have children, hindi dahil gusto mo magkaanak. Nasa kamay natin ang pagmamahal. Love is something we hold in our hands. Having children is not. Hindi natin hawak ang pagkakaroon o di pagkakaroon ng anak. So I did. I said yes to getting married. And God blessed us with 2 children. A son who is now in senior high school. I had him when I was, I think, 43 or 44. And I have a daughter who is going to grade 10 this year. And I had her when I was 46, going on 47 years old. Both miracle babies. How unexpected, di ba? So despite fear, she just did it. And the unexpected happened. That is one title that I can give my life story so far. Can you do the same? Can you sit through the patterns of your life story right now and try giving it a title too? Kahit ano, pero something that resonates, that seems to capture your story. Just tentatively, just to capture one such pattern. No title for sure could ever cover all that your life holds. But having at least one title to anchor your life story on might help you appreciate the title that your life, the beauty that your life a beauty that is often taken for granted. Can you try to do that? If okay with you, I will give you 3 minutes. I see one, The Fearful, Fearless Woman. Is that the title? I like that. Fearful, Fearless Woman. If you can think of one, maybe you can just type it in the chat box also, so that we can appreciate the beauty that is your life. Maybe 1 more minute. Okay, would anyone, if only if you're comfortable, would you want to share what your title is? Only if you're comfortable. I think I lost my chat box. It's up here. Okay, thank you. Thank you. There's another message. You can raise your hand. But I do not know who will raise their hand. Where will I? Ah, anyone who might be willing to share, or you can unmute if you're comfortable to share. We can give space to some of your titles and maybe a story or two if anyone might want to share. or maybe this is not the time or place that you are ready to do this. My hope is that you can at least keep the title in mind as we move along, and that you can go back to the title in the days to come. Okay, so it really does not matter what shape or form your life is today. We are all unfinished works of art at different stages of it. So just tell yourself, however my life looks now, it is really okay. It is well. It shall go well, and it shall be well. It is and will be a beautiful life, a work of art. What matters is this, that you are the artist of your life. Don't give the paintbrush to anyone else. Not to your partner, not to your parents. We can honor and respect our parents, but the one who holds the paintbrush should be you. Definitely not your boss, not your supervisor, not your administrator. We honor and respect them as leaders, but we don't give them the paintbrush to our lives. That belongs to you. It is your own art that you are making. Okay. Let us move on to the choices we make. This is an excerpt from a poem by Mary Oliver, The Summer Day. The last few lines of that poem goes, "Tell me what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die, or at least go too soon? Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life." One wild, precious. I've always loved that about life. We are given only one life. No repeats, no rehearsal, no repeats. It is full of wildness, meaning to say it is abundant with a springing forth of flowers we never imagined existed. It is precious, fleeting, valuable, irreplaceable, unrepeatable, impossible to duplicate or substitute. Anyone who has lost a beloved, and I am sure this is every one of us, knows this deep in our souls. In the university, we are grieving the loss of a teacher, professor, a beloved professor in the language and literature department in the college. And it is just unthinkable or unimaginable what the university is now without her. Any death really makes you realize how precious life is. Three ingredients are crucial in this process of creating art, out of life. We have choices, decision, and discernment. These are the elements that give our artwork texture and color. These are the materials that shape our lives, determining the nature of the masterpiece that we are creating. So if you look at the decades of your life, it has been marked by a series of choices, and decisions that you have made. Let's talk about choices. Choices are the full buffet of possibilities offered to us. Daily, we make choices. There are big choices, like selecting a life partner, a career, a vocation, where to live, what to spend your life doing. There are small ones too, like where to eat. Have you ever had the experience of going out with friends and asking, where shall we eat? And then everyone says, kahit saan, what do you want to eat? Kahit ano, and you go all around and say, kahit saan, kahit ano, until somebody says, di man yan nakakain ang ano, hindi man yan na wala mang kainan ng pangalan saan. So like where to eat, how to celebrate your birthday, whether to get a cat or a dog, what clothes to wear. And there are in-between ones, like what your dissertation will be about, how to select relevant related literature, who your advisor will be, what to do when you finally graduate, after you have caught up with sleep. Some choices are easy to make, others are difficult, others even painful, like whether you should stay in a relationship or whether you should walk away. There are personal and professional choices, short-term and long-term. A choice is made within a context, hardly ever in a vacuum. This means it is grounded on realities, people who will be affected, building blocks that need to be present. For example, you cannot choose a college degree if you have not yet completed grade school, high school, and senior high school. Resources that propel many choices. For some choices, you need to have a visa, you need to have financial resources, and so on and so forth, and many such things. A choice is a mixed box of opportunities, happenstance, trade-offs, dilemmas, desires, needs, all of which go into your deliberation. So there's a degree of complexity with the choices that we make. Many times the opportunities are there. For example, opportunities of choosing a college. Then you need to apply to those colleges. Sometimes you are accepted, sometimes you are not, no? Sometimes happenstance, coincidences take place. Somebody calls you and says, oh, there is a vacancy here in our office, and it's exactly the skill that you possess. For every decision, there are trade-offs. I have a couple friend, for example, who were petitioned to go to the US. Their mother was very sick. The mother of the one of them was very sick. And they were in a dilemma. Should they go to the States because they had a visa which was expiring, and leave their mother behind even if she was not well? Or would they stay with their mother but give up the chance, no, to go to the US because the visa would be expiring if they wouldn't? Dilemmas, very difficult to make. There are trade-offs that go with them. And of course, in all of these, you have desires, your needs, and to all of these, you need to deliver. When we talk of choices, we have to be clear that we are selecting between or among good things. Marriage, single blessedness, religious life. If you are in a bad situation, should you leave for your own well-being? Or should you stay and make things work out? Because maybe they can. Finishing your dissertation or delaying it for another year to focus on work. If you have to choose between one thing that is not good, then there's no choice there, no? For example, if you have to choose between voting for someone kasi namimigay ng pera and someone who has a solid track record of accomplishments, or if you had to choose between following a leader's dictates, even if against your principles, or making a stand for what you believe, you do not need to make a decision or a choice. You actually already know what you should do. What you might need instead is the courage to do the thing that you already ought to be done. Another thing about a choice is once you make a choice, then it becomes a decision. A decision cuts you from all other possibilities. Sometimes temporarily, sometimes permanently. When you choose to take in graduate school a particular track, you eliminate all other tracks. You have to follow that track, although that is probably temporary because you can stop midpoint and then choose another track. But some decisions, for example, like marriage, is more permanent, you know. And then you have to live out that choice every day. This picture is a picture of my brother. His name is Nicky. He's my elder brother. My brother was widowed in 2016. He was married for 30 years to a beautiful, wonderful woman, my sister-in-law, who I love very much. And they weren't ever separated for a day. At least, I couldn't remember a day when they were separated. But she had cancer, and she fought it out for 5 years, but passed away in 2016. That was really devastating for my brother. And he tried to cope with it. Fortunately, he has many friends. And he tried to cope with it by pursuing his hobby, which is photography. But somewhere along the way, Arlene, who is a friend of his wife, Gina, got in touch with him, not knowing that Gina had already passed away. She wrote my brother and asked about Gina, wanting to get in touch with her because she was not replying to Arlene's messages anymore. Of course, she couldn't because she had already passed away. And that started a friendship between them. They're both members also of a charismatic group, Ligaya ng Panginoon for Arlene. My brother is with BCBP in Bacolod. So last year, I think, or 2 years ago, last year, my brother wrote all of us, his siblings, and said he had decided to marry Arlene. So we were all very happy for him, but at the same time, scared for him, no? Imagining him getting married again at this late age in his life. But he made that decision, and we honored it, and we supported him and continue to support him all the way. But how brave of him, how brave. I think it's very brave to get married again at this point in their life. But now they're both in Bacolod. Arlene also. Arlene is a Bicolana from Ligao, Libon. But grew up, but worked in Manila and is Manila based. She's an engineer and she didn't get married at all because of her work as an engineer until she met me. So that is a choice that became a decision that cuts her off from all other possibilities, and they're both living out that choice every day. In some instances, or maybe many, not much choice is given to us. There are instances when there are no choices, such as in the case of illness or disability, times of great financial need or poverty, isolation, calamity, death and dying, aging, and the whole gaboo of human suffering that spares no one really. Are we ever really choiceless without a choice? So are there times when you have no choice? Viktor Frankl, I don't know if you know him, he's a Holocaust survivor. He had to be in captivity in a concentration camp for a long time and eventually became a psychiatrist. He wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, an excellent book, highly recommended. In this book, he said, everything can be taken from a man, but there is still one thing that cannot be taken away from us at all. The last of human freedoms. To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances and to choose one's own way. So yes, there is always still one more choice. And that is to choose one's attitude and one's own way. Choosing one's attitude is still a choice. So this whole thing called attitude, it's a whole body of work in itself that we have to cultivate. And how do we cultivate a positive attitude? Or even how does a positive attitude look like in situations where you are pushed to the wall? That could be another enrichment session in the future. So maybe at this point, again, we can pause. And I will invite you to think of one or two choices that you have made in your life. Or maybe make a list of all the choices, significant choices you have made in your life. You have pen and paper, that would be something very useful and very beneficial to do. Write all the choices. My own listing was getting married, of course. And then times when I decided to resign. So I had to resign 5 or 6 times. So each of those necessitated a decision. Going to get my master's was a decision I had to make. Shifting from literature, which I really love very much, to special education. That in itself has a story, no? But I chose to do special education. I actually initially wanted to take a clinical psychology because another passion of mine is counseling. I listen to so many stories and really, really love doing so. But at that time, I was also involved with children with special needs. And it was a field that was entirely new to me. I did not know how to handle these children at all. So I went to special education. Building a house in Naga, another decision that we had to make. And parenting, we each have our parenting styles and we make choices in how we parent. So the parenting the way I do, is a decision I also made. How about you? Write down your own choices, the choices and decisions you have made. And maybe as you list them down, try to ask yourself, were you happy about those decisions, those choices that became decisions? Were there some that you regretted in hindsight? These things are always in hindsight. You would never, of course, go into a decision that is already regrettable at the start. Regret is something that happens in hindsight. For example, with me, I was happy. I still am happy about having gotten married, about building a house in Naga, finishing a master's that opened a lot of doors, which I think many of you will also experience after you are done with graduate school, or if you already are done with graduate school. The doors just open. What are the things I regret in hindsight? When I looked at the ways I resigned, maybe in 2 or 3 of them, I would have done it better. In two schools, I resigned in the middle of the year. In hindsight, with more maturity now, I maybe would have done it different. That's another thing that I regret. And also, I slightly regret not having pursued a degree in clinical psychology. But that is a choice that there were 2 roads and I took 1 road. So I naturally had to give up another. And I have no regrets naman finishing special education. So maybe a minute to complete the list of choices you have made and some choices waiting to be made. You want to share or have anything that you want to? I'm not sure if I don't have a chat box, but it's okay. Okay. Okay, I know now to look at my chat box. Yay. Okay. So you might want to share if you feel led to. If not, let it be that you become aware. No, bring it to awareness by listing them down. Because these are the ingredients to your beautiful life. You look at your life, what makes it beautiful are the choices and decisions that you have made. Even the wrong ones, yes, they have a place in your life. Wrong decisions open up to right decisions. It's never a final thing. Like a basketball game, it's never over until the fat man sings, they say. maybe I can continue. You have written down your choices, the past and the present. What do all these choices ask of us? They compel us to decide, of course. First of all, they compel us to make a decision. I don't know if any of you are aware of MBTI, Myers-Briggs Temperament Inventory. And if you know your type, do you know, Maria, your own MBTI? So if based on your MBTI type, you will know that some people need to make decisions immediately. They cannot leave it hanging. There are some people who keep it hanging for a long, long time because that's what they're not comfortable with pinning down decision. But at the end of it all, you have to decide, no? But aside from compelling us to decide, they invite us to discern. Discern, no? I don't know if discern is a word that is familiar with that you are familiar, whether you're familiar with it, or if it is something relatively new or vague to you. Let me introduce to you and propose to you a process of discernment. So discernment is a gift. It is a tool to use when making choices. So one tool is decision making and one tool is discernment. When you discern, you enter into a sphere not available to our senses, but which our consciousness detects. So it's not something we are dealing here now, not with what things we can see, we can hear, we can touch, and so on and so forth, but something intangible, something more spiritual. If you come from the Catholic tradition or Christian tradition, for that matter, you might be familiar with the Apostles' Creed. In the Apostles' Creed, we pray, I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, of all things visible and invisible. Discernment ushers you into that sphere of the invisible. We're now expanding, the consciousness. So we do not see, hear, or touch these things, but our hearts are inclined to sense them. We can detect them, no? Okay. And the basic premises, there are some basic premises that we have in order to practice discernment. One is the belief that we are gods. We belong to someone. We are here because of someone. Even as we navigate through all things visible, there is an entire sphere of the invisible operating in our lives at the same time. Even as I speak before you, there is invisible spirit operating here among us, with us. And we call that spirit by different names, a higher being, or God, or Allah, or whatever you are inclined to pray to. No? Maybe that's the way to to connect ourselves with that invisible spirit, whoever we call to in time of need. This God loves us unconditionally. Unconditionally. So that word is unconditionally. That is an experience that takes a lifetime to understand. What does it mean to be loved by God unconditionally? Because in life, most, if not all, of our experiences of love is tinged with condition. So it takes a lifetime for us to understand what it means to be loved unconditionally. But that is God. That is how He loved. The purpose of life is to honor and glorify God. Of course, there is success, there is happiness, there is fulfillment. But to one who discerns, these are not the end. The end of these is to honor and glorify God. And finally, all of life is a journey back to God. We're all really just going back to God. This is not our home. We are not citizens of this earth. We are citizens of a more beautiful world waiting for us, where there is a place being prepared for us. And life is a preparation, a journey to that home. So those are the basic premises of discernment. And in discernment, we believe that God speaks through the movements of our hearts. Movements of our hearts, not our thoughts. Our mind is full of all kinds of talk. We have the voices of our parents, the voices of the world, the voices of your boss, administrator, your children, your past, especially if you have gone through some form of trauma. That is a very tormenting voice in our heads. So where our minds are full of this. But if we are able to quiet ourselves and enter into a deeper part of our consciousness, we hear something kind, a voice that's infinitely kinder, infinitely more tender, and infinitely more supportive of us, definitely on our side. And those are the movements through which God speaks. So in discernment, we listen to these movements and understand where they come from. And the work of discernment is directed towards action. It is a gift available to all, no matter who you are, no matter what status in life you are. Simply by being a human being, child of God, discernment is available to you. It presupposes, however, one, a belief in a loving God, a God who loves you and has given you free will. So you're not a robot who you can just ask God, God, tell me what to do, and He will put it in your heart. This is what I want you to do, and you do it. That is a robotic kind of relationship. It's not the way God relates with us. Therefore, the second presupposition is a healthy relationship with God. Healthy meaning not a God whom we're afraid of, not a God who is exacting or demanding or who treats us like slaves, but as friends, no? Third, it presupposes an awareness of the movements in your heart. Movements that are accessible usually only in silence. It presupposes an openness to listening, and it presupposes the acceptance of this as a gift. I know that this is a lot to unpack at this point. So let this slide be something that you can go back to in the future as a guide, no? But this is the foundation of the gift of discernment. In a while, I will share with you a video that can express better than I can or do what discernment is. But for now, maybe you might want to ask, is decision making and discernment different? It is, no? Discernment and sharing are different, and discernment and decision making are different. Is discernment preferred to decision making? Not necessarily also. Some choices require only decision making. For example, attending this enrichment session, that was just a decision, only required a decision. Doing household chores, should I wash the dishes o bukas na lang? Maybe that is a decision making. Whether to take the bus to Manila or ride the plane, maybe decision making will be enough. Even what will the topic of my dissertation be? Decision making might be enough. So discernment is for choices that are either potentially life-altering and usually involving the invisible. For example, very important question that many teachers ask: should I, as a teacher, allow a student to pass given the information I now have about him or her? Or would it benefit the student to repeat another semester? I know as a teacher, it's really heartbreaking not to not be able to pass a student when the records show that that student may benefit from another school year. But sometimes there are extenuating circumstances that may tilt your decision in favor of just letting the student proceed, no? That maybe can go through a process of discernment. Should I enroll next semester or take a break for one semester? It's quite life-altering in the sense that either way, there will be consequences. Some discernment can be done there. Should I send my child who has been offered a full scholarship to Ateneo de Naga Junior High School? Or should I send her to Philippine Science High School where everything is free, including board and lodging plus weekly allowance? Not a simple decision. Maybe some discernment is going to be done there. Should I accept the offer of the principal to be a department chair? Or should I remain a classroom teacher? Okay, so these are examples of where discernment might be helpful. No? Okay, most of these are decisions filled with uncertainty, ambiguity, and trade-offs. Either way you go, there will be a gift and there will be some form of loss. So, what are the differences between decision-making or discernment? In this, decision-making is usually cognitive. Use your rational thinking and or intuitive. Parang feel ko ito ang maganda, no? It's that process of selecting a course of action among several alternatives. That is decision-making. Discernment is a process of reading between the lines, noticing the stirrings of your heart, trying to detect what God wants us to do. So now here we invite God into the picture. We listen to the movements within. I think what we're afraid of when we choose to discern is baka ang gusto ko hindi gusto ng Diyos o hindi ibibigay ng Diyos or taliwas sa gusto ng Diyos. Sometimes we have certain decisions that we are attached to, and we are afraid that if we discern, baka hindi yun ang lalabas na nakakabuti, and we will have to give it up. But that is where discernment comes in, no? Okay, that is a track in itself to talk about, but I will not go there first. Decision-making engages the mind and the heart. Discernment engages the spiritual part of us. In decision-making, usually we ask, what will this decision benefit me or those who matter to me? In discernment, we ask, where is the God of creation leading me in the work of building His kingdom on earth? Parang the focus of decision-making is the benefit to me, and discernment has a wider scope, no? The view is more of the whole world and how my decision will contribute to this world that God is building in our midst. It is also possible that that decision which will benefit me will also contribute to this world. Often it happens that way, no? Not always, but often enough it happens that way. In decision-making, we look for solutions. We're always thinking of progress. How can I progress? How can I go up the ladder, no? Growth, fulfillment, happiness. In discernment, the primary purpose is to glorify God and to serve Him. So we look into that, no? We look more into that as the purpose of our decision making. So in a sense, decision making focuses on ourselves while putting God in the picture. Hindi naman natin ini-eliminate ang Diyos. Sinasabay din natin, but it's more personal. Usually we do this in prayers of petition. We say, gusto kong pupunta magtrabaho sa ibang bansa. Tulungan mo naman ako. Please help me get the job that I want in another country which is being offered. It's a form of petition. In discernment, we focus on God working in and through us. We say, there is a job abroad, and will God be able to work in and through me in this or not? If not, I'm willing to do something else. The focus is more communal. And the last thing that I put here is that in decision making, we see the world as a kingdom to conquer and life as a project. In discernment, we see the world as the kingdom of God in the baking and life as a mission. I'm not sure if you're able to detect the differences, because there are many of these things where they overlap, but the scope of discernment is really wider and involves the invisible and the spirit. Okay. Unwrapping the gift of discernment, let me go through this quickly so we can proceed to the video. Unwrapping the gift of discernment in Ignatian spirituality, this is called discernment of spirits, or what Saint Ignatius of Loyola called motions of the soul. Those of us who are steeped in Ignatian spirituality, maybe since you are part of the university and you're students of a Jesuit school, in different degrees, you are already also steeped in Ignatian spirituality. So again, this is one of those results of a mixed bag that comes with the choice of studying and then eventually working in a Jesuit school. We are biased towards the model of discernment passed on to us by Saint Ignatius of Loyola, our founder. Other forms of spirituality have their own models of discernment, and these are no less inferior. But most religious congregations, I believe, follow this model. We were talking a while ago about the motions in our hearts, the movement in our hearts. Operationally, these come in the form of thoughts, imaginings, emotions, inclinations, desires, feelings, repulsions, attraction. Are you aware of these all within you? Those you dislike, people you dislike, things you dislike, desires that you have, attractions that you, things that you're attracted to, emotions that you have, sadness, grief, frustration, anger, joy, things that you imagine, and those thoughts. Saint Ignatius noted that when we attend to these motions within us, we find two kinds of stirrings. Dalawang klase. Dalawang main categories. One is termed consolation, which refers to anything in these stirrings that move us towards God. Consolation. The other term is desolation, refers to any stirring that pulls us away from God. So maybe at this point, we
What
can...
is discernment? Many people are drawn to Ignatius.
Okay, so maybe we can listen to this video and I can breathe a bit because I feel maybe I'm just talking about to myself because these things may sound very, you might be overwhelmed by this, but maybe this video hopefully can be helpful to you. It's 8 minutes and I think it's an excellent introduction to what discernment means.
ancient spirituality for its wisdom about personal discernment. Discernment was the very first challenge Ignatius Loyola faced when he decided to take his faith seriously. He wanted to know what to do with his life, and he became aware of contrary impulses in his heart. He discovered that spiritual forces, both good and evil, were behind these urges. Ignatius learned how to become sensitive to these inner movements, how to interpret them, and how to understand where they come from and where they lead us. Ignatius's great discovery was that discernment involves paying attention to our feelings. As he lay in bed recovering from serious injuries, he daydreamed about what direction his life might take. He dreamed of returning to his life of nightly adventure and romance. This idea delighted him, but later he felt dry and discontented. Then he dreamed of following Christ and the saints. He liked these reveries too, and he remained content and happy after the dreams. He gradually realized that these feelings had a deeper meaning. Spirits were behind them, the Holy Spirit of God and the evil spirit whom Ignatius called the enemy of our human nature. Talk of good and evil spirits may seem foreign to us today, yet Ignatius's language is helpful because it recognizes the reality of evil. Our hearts are often divided. Discernment of spirits is the interpretation of this struggle. The word discern comes from the Latin, meaning to see the difference between things. An old image for it is the banker's talent for telling the difference between genuine and counterfeit coins. Over the years, Ignatius refined and perfected his method of discernment. He classified spiritual feelings and emotions into two broad categories. One he called consolation. These are feelings that move us toward God and others. Consolation is any increase in faith, hope, and love. It is commonly experienced as feelings of peace, security, and joy. The word consolation is derived from the Latin phrase meaning with the sun. Consolation basks in the sunlight. The opposite of consolation is desolation. The light and warmth of the sun have disappeared. We're off key, out of tune, anxious, restless, doubting. It's hard to be loving, kind, and outward focused. It's easy to put bad interpretations on what others say and do. Our judgments can be quite unbalanced and negative. One of the surest signs of desolation is loss of energy, courage, and hope. If we think that God is nowhere to be found, we're probably in a state of desolation. Working from personal experience, Ignatius composed rules for discernment to help us interpret the patterns of consolation and desolation in our lives. If we're leading a sinful life, the good spirit will bring about desolation in order to turn us around. The enemy of our human nature will encourage us to keep sinning. If we're trying to serve God, our unruly desires breed discontent and doubt to lead us away from God, while the Spirit of God gives us consolation to keep us steady in what we're doing. Ignatius's advice about dealing with consolation and desolation is now widely accepted. For example, don't make important decisions when you're experiencing desolation. Instead, wait for consolation to return. When you're feeling down, pray more and spend more time helping other people. Be patient. The desolation will eventually go away and consolation will return. Talk to someone, especially if you don't want to. Feelings of shame and a desire to keep problems secret are a sure sign of the work of the evil one. Ignatius wrote 22 rules for discernment, and some of them involve subtle distinctions and counterintuitive judgments. For instance, consolation isn't the same thing as feeling good. Often we can feel anxious and burdened while we're trying to serve God. Jesus certainly felt this way. His prayer in Gethsemane was tortured. On the cross, he cried to his Father, "Why have you forsaken me?" But all the while, he trusted God and did his will. It's also true that desolation isn't the same thing as feeling bad. Often, the devil will come cloaked as an angel of light, particularly for people who are leading good lives. Consolation will give way to doubts and worries, often couched in spiritual language. Maybe I should be doing something else, something hard and unappealing, because God always wants the harder thing. The most important question to ask in discernment of spirits is, am I going in the right direction? We might feel little joy, but still be determined to follow God. We might make a heartbreaking decision, but still know that it is right. We might shiver in a cold and piercing wind and still rejoice because the wind is moving our boat towards a safe harbor. Consolation doesn't mean ecstatic experiences. It means the quiet conviction that our choices and deeds are taking us closer to God. Discernment isn't something we do alone. It's part of a relationship with God. We might say that we sit down with God and look at things together. The truth gradually emerges through a process of reflection and prayer, guided by the Holy Spirit. Discernment often involves collaboration with others. It's a challenging task, requiring maturity, inner quiet, and an ability to reflect on our interior life. We must be ready to improvise and adjust because God works in each of us uniquely. That's why many people undertake discernment with the assistance of a spiritual director. Ignatian discernment is about more than choices and deeds. It's about developing a discerning heart that is attuned to God. It's about growing closer to God, who is forgiving and generous, who calls us into close companionship with Jesus in his work of healing the world. What is discernment? Next,
Just a quick pause. I will ask you to just sit with how you were while you were watching the video and ask yourself, what struck you in the video clip? Maybe you can write these answers down also. What is your takeaway from the video clip? What was happening within you as you were listening to the video? What were your thoughts? What were your feelings? Whatever thoughts or feelings surfaced, none of those are to be rejected. No, we honor whatever feelings or thoughts crossed your mind. And finally, what questions surfaced in your mind? Honor every single thought or feeling or question that arose, whether negative or positive. Always, no? Honor whatever comes up when you reflect on these things. We do ourselves great disservice when we only highlight the positive and reject dismiss or not admit the negative. So a short pause here so that you might be able to think of your answers to the video and write them down. After this session, and we are now winding down, I will invite you to share these questions or reactions if you have any. I think there is an open forum after. Therefore, sige. One last thing, maybe before finally conclude. Maybe one thing you might want to know now that you've heard about Ignatian discernment, one thing you might be asking is where and how to start. It's not like you can sit down and practice it. You need to have something to start with. I propose that you begin by doing what is called the examen of consciousness every day without fail. Every Jesuit, I am told, do this 3 or 4 times a day. Morning, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and before they sleep. But since we are not Jesuits, we can do it only once, in the evening before going to sleep. It is quite simple, and it takes only a few minutes. On ordinary days, meaning nothing extraordinary or out of the ordinary happened on that day, 1 or 2 minutes might be all that you need. So this is called examen of consciousness. It's one baby step towards practicing Ignatian discernment. Baby step, if you do it every day, then you will be able to cultivate a heart of discernment. Examen of consciousness is a way of seeing God in the reality of everyday life, of finding God in all things. We always say this in Jesuit schools. Sometimes it's coming out of our ears, finding God in all things and in all moments. It's a simple prayer exercise that makes us more aware of our inner movements that deepen and order our lives to God and make us attuned to the Holy Spirit as well as the promptings of evil in our hearts. Okay, so how do we do this? We start by asking God to be with us. So I ask God to be with me. I become aware of the love with which God looks at me. Remember always God gazing at you with love. Think of the most tender gaze you've ever known. It could be a parent, it could be a partner. God's gaze is much infinitely more tender than that. I become aware of the love with which God looks on me, and I bring the day to God. Second, I review everything that happened from the beginning to the end. So you can start from the time you woke up and then hour after hour after hour, or you can do a rewind. Just before you slept, before you prepared to go to sleep, backward till the time you woke up. Then I recall the gifts and blessings of the day. Like for me, I'm almost sure when I do my examen tonight, I will I will recognize how it has been a gift and a blessing to be able to share what I have with you and to be present and to experience your presence, even if only virtually. I do hope that one day I can meet you face to face. But for now, it is a gift enough that you are here. And that is one of the things I am certain that at the end of this day, I will say thank you for. Then I ask God to reveal to me the thoughts, words, and actions that were not a response to God's grace. So I look back, no, did I say something that probably was unkind or hurt anyone? Or was I impatient with in my actions? Or did I also have thoughts, no, that were not response to God's grace? Like maybe listening to uh, the success story of someone and not being able to genuinely be happy for that success because I recognize that inside me I have some envy. So that is a thought. It did not translate into any word or any action, but certainly that thought is not a response to God's grace. It's not something that I reject. I accept it, no, I acknowledge it, and it really is okay. I embrace that as part of my thought process, but at the same time, I say sorry, because I know that I can be better than that. And I ask for the healing touch of God's forgiveness. The focus is always God, not ourselves. Therefore, if you go to this part and feel guilty, that's not the way to go. The consciousness is God wanting to work good into you. And in recognizing that and saying sorry, you're allowing God to bring you to a higher place. It's not to say, I did this wrong. Sige, bukas I will try my very best to do better so that I can please you, God. So it's not that way. It's always the focus is not what you do, but who God is in your life. And finally, I ask God to help me follow Him and live in His light again tomorrow. It's like if you have a chatmate before you sleep. I know that some of students I know, they have somebody who they need to say good night to and say bukas naman ha. The same with God. Say, sige Lord, bukas na naman, tulungan mo ako to follow you and live in your life again tomorrow. And then you say good night. That's very simplified, but that's the way an examen of consciousness can take. So to do this every night, kahit patulog ka na, but at least to be able to just take 1 or 2 minutes to do this, you will find as you go along that it cultivates the spirit of discernment in you. Okay, to recap, Yay. So today we, at least at a certain, we try to look at our life as a work of art, appreciate it, to value it, to regard it as wild and precious. Then we explore the choices we have made, small and big, that have brought color and texture to this artwork. And then we had an introduction into the gift of discernment as a tool to help us make choices that matter. Choices that matter. But that is what we tried to do today. Personally, for me, this is at least one of the formula that I personally practice or follow for a meaningful life. Not a happy life. I'm not a believer in happiness. I find happiness fleeting, no? But of course, it's a good thing, but not a pursuit. What is more important probably is to have a meaningful life. A life where, when I breathe my last, I hope I shall be able to say, walang nasayang, walang sinayang. Hindi nagkulang, hindi kidulang. Lahat ay grasya mula sa Panginoon. Salamat sa Diyos. So maybe one more word about Ignatian discernment as a spiritual practice. It starts with taking to heart these words of Saint Ignatius of Loyola. Again, he again. I should have brought my statue of Saint Ignatius of Loyola. Our only desire and one choice should be this. I want and I choose what better leads to God's deepening life in me. So again, finding God in all things. This is a mantra of every student and every member of every Jesuit school all over the world. It is a mantra that also underlies the practice of Ignatian discernment. So like parting words, I would like to just say, wherever you are and whatever you are going through today, God can be found. In every choice you have ever made and will make, God is to be found. In fact, God is already there. Our business, our work, is to recognize this and be grateful. Recognizing and being grateful is another key to living a life of intention and purpose, and key to making choices that matter. So slow down, be attentive to your life and the movements of your heart. Recognize that God can be found in everything. Allow God to share the dance of life with you. Live from your soul and be grateful. May you each live with intention every moment of your life. May the gift of discernment open up for you. May you know above all things that you are loved. May you know above all things that you are beautiful. May you be healed of the wounds that bind you. May you have the courage to truly live with joy and hope. This is my prayer for each of you today. Thank you.
Thank
I
you
put
so
my contact details there. You can actually, I wouldn't mind if you have something to share or something to ask or just want to keep in touch. You can email or text. Well, hindi na yata uso ang text ngayon, or send me a message in Messenger. I would welcome them if you are if you're led to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Mean, no? So I hope everyone, no, had ano, inspiring, and for me, personally, I feel a bit refreshed, no, knowing that we can slow down, no? So at this point, we are going to open the floor for at least 2, 3 questions, if that's okay, no? So allow me, Miss Mean, to share my screen na po, ano po. So ayan. Let's go to the open forum, no, of our session this afternoon, especially for those who might have questions and, sabi nga kanina, the stirrings of the heart, no? Kung sino man, if you feel that you have a call to just ask, or if you could just share, anything that struck you, especially in this conversation we have with Miss Mean. No, meron po ba sa ating participants ang gustong mag-share or gustong magtanong patungkol sa ating enrichment session ngayon? Anyone po from the group? If you are a bit shy, you can send a direct message to me, no? I am the graduate school. I'm using the graduate school account, no? You can also do that. But me personally, no, Miss Mayan, I have a question. Ano, with discernment ba, can we be wrong? Will there be a time na we feel that we are wrong after going through the process of discernment?
Yes, that's a very good question, actually. And often, can you be wrong? When we do discern, for me, at least in my experience, when we do discernment, we proceed according to the maximum light available to us, available. And so we listen to the movements in our spirit, and we make a decision based on that. And of course, it requires, it includes many other things. Like really, if you use the Ignatian discernment, there are many steps. That is actually one thing that we could have gone through, but it's just a bit lengthy. And the second corollary to that, it is also important to do discernment, especially if it's a big decision, with a spiritual director or a guidance counselor, or at least somebody outside ourselves, no? So that we can confirm whether the spirit we are listening to is truly the spirit that is of the good spirit. No, okay. Now, when you have made the decision and things unfold, two things can happen. There are times when the circumstances change, the things around you change. Remember, we are all evolving and dynamic human beings in evolving and dynamic situations. And there comes a point when that which we decided on or chose at a certain point no longer works. At that certain point, is it to say that the decision was wrong? Maybe not. Maybe not. Just that there is an invitation at that point for something else, something, maybe a new decision or a decision within that decision, or something in between that, no, out of the box of that. But would you say that the decision is wrong maybe wrong, may not be the correct term. No, maybe we can use that it evolved, things evolved, things expanded, uh, something dynamic occurred, no? And so sometimes when I think of that question, and I have, the way I don't know if you use Waze when you travel, and when you use Waze, you're given suggestions, and at a certain point, there's a decision that you make, but on the ground, it does not look uh realistic because there's traffic or something. So you take another direction. You go another way. If you notice, when you go another way, Waze adjusts to you and then gives you a direction to the same destination, but going a different way. So maybe it's something like that. That at a certain point you need to follow another thing because it doesn't work anymore. But at the end of it, you will be led to the same destination. And that is the destination ultimately we believe is God. No. Did that
Okay.
answer your
Thank you so much, Rise. And ano, oo, I think that's also one of the ano ba, stirrings na may anxiety if it doesn't go with your plan, you are kind of, am I doing this right? Kinds of feeling. So it's somewhat, no, even with our graduate school students, no, some of us are, maybe some of you already are finished, but what now? No? And some of you are already in the process of what they call this doing your dissertation or thesis. So what now? How are we? No, so redirection. So that's a very good answer, Miss Mayan. So I feel consoled actually. Ayan.
It's always about God. So if God is the one leading, um, there will always be will tayo kasi our thinking is very linear, no? Linear. This is the path we have taken, patay. Wala na, no? But if we look at it in the context of God and His infinite possible in His infinite ways of working with us, there are U-turns, there are detours, there are paths that will open up that we did not even imagine, and so on and so. So it's not up to us. That's the bottom line. That's the biggest consolation.
Thank you so much, Miss Mayan, no? Maybe from the audience, meron po ba or medyo nahihiya pa or are we still digesting? Okay. Sige po. So, meron po ba na gustong mag-share or if they would like to just share something or ask if you do? Going once. Twice. Baka i-email niyo lang ata si Miss Mean. Yeah, so Miss Mean. Opo.
More a writer than a speaker, no?
Mm.
And yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Mean, for your time. No, so for our,
Thank you for inviting me.
and we are very honored to have you here.
This is my next to my list of, despite the fear, he just did it anyway.
Ayan. Thank you so much daw po from Doc Malu in her
Thank you
in the chat
also for the
box.
opportunity.
No? So I hope everyone had a wonderful reflection, no, with our guest speaker, our companion, especially in this journey, no? So with that, to show our appreciation for Miss Mayan, I would like to um present to her our certificate of commendation. So to Miss Mean, we are honored, and yeah, sabi mo nga, despite the fear, you are here and we are very much touched of your presence. So certificate of commendation is given to Miss Mary Ann De Duque for sharing her time and expertise as the resource speaker for the enrichment session entitled Living with Intention, the Power of Discernment in Daily Action, held this April 26, 2025 via Zoom. given this 26th of April 2025 at Ateneo de Naga University, Bagong Bayan Sur, Naga City. Signed, John Michael M. Revilla and Ms. Maria Ardela de los Santos, with our Dean of the Graduate School, Doc Malu C. Barciliano. Again, we thank Ms. Mean for her time and for her expertise, especially journeying with us. No? So for our graduate school students at the very last, it really is a journey, wherever you are going to start or even end, with your path. So we hope that this enrichment session gave you some points to ponder, some points to reflect, and be able to also move forward, especially that there are a lot of things happening politically, culturally, kung nasaan man tayo. Sabi nga ni Ms. Mayan kanina, we honor and we meet where we are. So we honor our feelings, honor our present situation. So we would like again to thank Ma'am Mean for her time, and of course her presence. So at this point, we would like to also share it to our graduate school students. We will be sharing the evaluation form with you via Gbox. So please do put the correct Gbox forms, in the registration via Zoom. So with that, we would like to formally close our enhancement session. So again, maraming salamat po sa punta at attend po ng enrichment session na ito. We hope that you were able to journey with us as well. So we hope that you have a good day ahead, and thank you again so much for coming this afternoon.